The medicine cabinet in your bathroom has a finite supply. The bottle runs out. The shelf goes empty. The price goes up. Most of what is in those bottles traces its chemistry back to plants growing on these slopes for longer than the company that sold them has existed. These mountains were never glaciated. That single fact left more plant diversity here than anywhere else on this continent. The Cherokee documented over 400 medicinal uses from plants in these forests. Settlers who came later learned from them. Their children learned from them. My name is Gideon Adkins, born outside Harlan, Kentucky. Ruth kept a medicinal herb garden from a list Bessie Stamper gave her. A woman who delivered half the babies in a 5-mile radius. She never called it alternative medicine. It was just medicine. 10 plants, all of them here before the pharmacy truck came up the road. Number 10. American ginseng. Up here we call it sang. Always have. The Cherokee called it little man. The root, when old enough, looks like a person. You understand that when you hold one. It grows on north-facing slopes in full shade, under sugar maple and tulip poplar. 5 to 15 years from seed to harvestable root. The older the root, the stronger. Sang hunters have been selling it since the early 1800s, mostly to Hong Kong traders. Old wild root brings $1,000 a pound. Asian ginseng is now functionally extinct in the wild. Overharvested. American ginseng is following the same path, threatened or endangered in 26 states. My father showed me where the sang grows on the north slope. He never took it all. Neither have I. Number 9. Black cohosh. The women on this land knew this plant before they knew its name. Ruth learned it from her mother. Clara from Ruth. Not written down, just shown. It grows on moist, shaded slopes in rich hardwood forest. 4 to 6 feet tall in bloom. A long wand of white flowers rising from the understory. Black knotted root. You will not mistake it for anything else. Cherokee women used it for cramps and labor pain. Appalachian midwives used it in labor through generations. 19th century physicians prescribed it more widely than almost any other native herb. Germany approved a standardized extract for menopausal symptoms since 1950. Still among the top-selling botanical supplements in this country. Not for pregnancy. Not for long-term high-dose use. Real medicine. Treat it accordingly. Number 8. Golden seal. Bessie Stamper kept it in the pharmacy garden. I planted it from her list 30 years later. Both of us knew the same thing about it before any laboratory confirmed it. Low plant, 6 to 12 inches. One small white flower. The root is an intense, vivid yellow. The most distinctive thing in the forest floor. You know it the moment you cut into it. Cherokee used it to wash wounds and inflamed eyes. Settlers adopted it as a topical antimicrobial for skin, throat, and digestive infections. The yellow root was also used as a dye for baskets and cloth. The active compound is berberine, studied against staph, E. coli, and salmonella. It works. Listed alongside ginseng in CITES Appendix 2, threatened across most of its range. Grow it. Do not dig it wild. Number 7. Mullein. It did not start here. Arrived from Europe in the 1700s and made itself so at home that most people assume it always belonged. Year 1. A rosette of large velvety silver-gray leaves on the ground. Year 2. A spike up to 7 feet with yellow flowers. You have passed it on every Appalachian roadside without knowing. Cherokee and settlers both reached for it when the lungs went wrong. Leaves steeped for bronchitis and persistent cough. Flowers infused in oil for earaches. A 2003 trial found the ear oil as effective as prescription drops for children. The second-year stalk was dipped in tallow and lit as a torch. Candlewick. It grows at the edge of this field every summer. It was there every summer she was alive. Number 6. Elderberry. Clara made elderberry syrup every fall. The shrubs are still at the edge of this property. They were there before she was, and they are still here. One plant, 2 medicines across one season. Elderflowers in spring for fever and as a tonic. Elderberries in late summer for colds and flu. Fast growing. A single shrub produces more than one family can use. One thing to know before you plant. Raw or unripe berries will make you sick. Flowers and cooked berries are safe. Bark is mildly toxic. Know the difference. This is real medicine, and real medicine has rules. A 2016 randomized trial showed elderberry extract significantly reduced cold duration and severity compared to placebo. The old knowledge and the modern science land in the same place. Number 5. Maypop. It grew along the fence line here when I was a child. Ruth picked the fruit in summer. We stepped on the ripe ones for the sound. That is how it got the name. A vigorous vine along fence rows and field edges. Exotic purple and white flowers, unlike anything else on these mountains. Cherokee used it for boils and earaches. Appalachian folk medicine used it for anxiety, restlessness, and sleeplessness. The active compounds bind to GABA receptors in the brain. The same system benzodiazepines target. In 2001, a double-blind trial compared passion flower extract to oxazepam, a prescription sedative. The herb performed comparably for generalized anxiety disorder. Without the cognitive impairment the drug caused. Germany approved it. FDA considers it safe. Not for pregnancy. Do not combine with sedatives. Number 4. Witch hazel. One of the last plants to flower in these forests. Spidery golden flowers on bare branches in October after everything else has gone dark. Grows along creek margins in damp understory. Cherokee used bark tea for muscle pain and swelling. Settlers adopted it. The knowledge traveled to the FDA. One of a handful of botanical ingredients FDA approved as an over-the-counter drug. Listed in the United States Pharmacopoeia. From Cherokee medicine to pharmacy shelves in a direct line. Here is what most people do not know. The bottle at the drugstore is steam distilled. That destroys most of the tannin content. What remains is water with a label. The bark from this property made into a decoction at home is the real thing. The tree is still here. Number 3. Yellow root. Bessie Stamper called it the poor man's golden seal. She meant it as a compliment. The only plant in its genus on this continent. Low shrub along every creek bank in these mountains, spreading in dense colonies. Compound leaves like parsley. Cut the root, and it bleeds chrome yellow. You will not mistake it for anything. Cherokee documented 34 medicinal uses: sore throats, stomach ailments, mouth ulcers, high blood pressure, skin sores. Also, the most common yellow dye in the region for baskets and face paint. African American mountain communities arrived at the same uses independently. Same active compound as golden seal. Same berberine. Same antimicrobial properties. A fraction of the harvesting pressure. It grows along every creek on this property. Bessie was right about what that was. Worth. Number 2. Boneset. The name does not mean what you think. Break bone fever was what people called influenza before they named it. Pain in the joints so severe people described feeling their skeleton coming apart. Boneset was the herb that treated it, not broken bones. Break bone fever. Cherokee and Iroquois used it to break a fever through sweating. 19th century physicians prescribed it for influenza and bronchitis. When the 1918 pandemic came through these hollers, communities had no hospital within easy reach. They had this plant. In vitro studies show the extracts stimulate immune cells that attack pathogens. Short-term use only, not for pregnancy, not for liver conditions. Do not use when fever climbs above 102. The 1918 pandemic reached this county. The people here were not helpless. Number 1. Bee balm. It grows at the edge of the garden, has always grown there. Crush a leaf and the smell hits you. Spicy, herbal, like oregano with something wilder underneath. Cherokee used it for fevers and colds. When colonists boycotted British tea after 1773, they turned to native plants. Bee balm was among the first. The active compound is thymol, powerful antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal, effective against bacteria, fungi, and some viruses. Thymol is the active ingredient in Listerine mouthwash, formulated since 1879, named after Joseph Lister. The compound came from plants like this one. Appalachian healers used the same chemistry for centuries before anyone isolated it in a laboratory. I did not know about Listerine until I was a grown man. By then, it did not surprise me. 25% of prescription medicines still derive from native plants and barks. That knowledge has been on these slopes for hundreds of years, passed woman to woman, ridge to ridge, in composition notebooks, kitchen gardens, and the memories of granny women whose names most people have already forgotten. None of these 10 plants require a prescription. None require a supply chain. Several are growing within a mile of where you stand. What they require is recognition, knowing what you are looking at in the woods and what to do with it. That is the skill. The plant is free. It has always been free. Tell me in the comments which of these 10 you already grow, what county you are in, what your grandmother called it. I read every one. Next video. 7 forgotten Appalachian survival techniques modern preppers ignore. Nothing to sell alongside them. I will see you there.